Today's question for Mindful Moments is I keep reliving past trauma. How can I cope with these memories? First off, if you're experiencing severe trauma symptoms, I would suggest that you talk to a therapist or talk to your doctor and get an assessment to see if you might be a victim of post traumatic stress disorder. That having been said, here's some basic tips on how to deal with trauma. There's a thing called a trauma language. If you were raised in a family where there was a lot of trauma, like a lot of childhood incidences, then trauma becomes your language. The way that you deal with trauma in your family of origin becomes the language that you speak. If you think about it, if I only spoke Spanish and I was trying to communicate with you, and the only way you spoke was English, then I'm going to have difficulty unless you learn Spanish or unless I learn English. Likewise, if your family of origin raised you with the trauma language, in other words, this is the way that you respond to a trauma situation, then that's going to become your language. So if you're raised in a family of origin that only spoke Spanish, you would only speak Spanish. Likewise, if you were raised in a family with a lot of trauma, then that becomes your emotional language for processing and viewing the world. You might go out into the world and see everything as threatening because that's the environment that you grew up in. We tend to think that our family of origin is normal because we don't have anything to compare it to. And so when we go out into the world, we expect everyone to traumatize us in some way. There's a thing called trauma-informed ecotherapy. And what that is it helps you to learn a different language, a different way of expressing trauma or dealing with trauma. And one way to do that is by becoming aware of your triggers while in nature in a mindful environment under the care of a mindfulness-based ecotherapist. I like to use the terminology echoes in the forest. Every trauma experience we have in our mind, everything that we experienced in our life, leaves a mark on our mind. And until we deal with it, it doesn't go away. You might have heard the old saying, time heals all wounds. I'm not a really big fan of that saying because it tends to make people believe that if a great amount of time has passed since the trauma, then there's something wrong with them that they haven't gotten over it yet or healed yet from it. The truth is that the part of your brain that experiences those deep trauma memories doesn't have a sense of time. So no matter how long has passed, if you haven't dealt with the trauma, then it's still going to be there. The encouraging thing about that is that your brain will guide you as to what you need to do to deal with the trauma. One of the ways that we do that is mindful awareness of your triggers while you're in nature. One way to do that is through nature journaling. If you just go out into the woods and do a mindful meditation by exploring the environment with your senses, by sitting down and saying, what do I see? What do I smell? What do I taste? What do I touch? One exercise I like to use is, okay, say you're looking at a tree. You might just walking through the woods say, oh, there's a tree and not even notice it. But imagine now that you're an artist and you have to sit down and draw that tree. You're going to have to know all the leaves, all the branches, all the colors, the way the light and the shadow falls on it. So you could spend an entire afternoon just studying that tree. Now, the more you do that, the more you leave doing mode and enter into being mode. And being mode is where you can become aware of those trauma memories and process them. Each memory is an echo, and that echo is a replaying of that trauma in your mind. Your brain is going over and over again. It's like a film strip on an endless loop in your mind about this traumatic reaction that you've had. That's just an echo, though. The trauma is no longer there. The thing that actually happened that gave you that trauma memory in the first place is no longer there. All you're experiencing is the echo of that memory. And I know I don't mean to minimize anybody's feelings in those situations. What you feel is not wrong or not inaccurate. It's just an echo, though. The first step of healing is to realize that you're not in danger anymore. The way that you do that is by becoming aware of your triggers for trauma while in nature, in a nurturing environment, in an environment that sustains you. And it may be that the forest is not your cup of tea. It might be that being on a beach might be your cup of tea or more of what you're accustomed to. The difficulty here is that if you were traumatized at a particular place, then you're going to have those echoes of trauma memories in that particular place. For example, I always used to use a relaxing beach imagery when I was guiding people through a relaxation exercise to deal with trauma. And then one day I had a woman who had nearly drowned. And so imagining a beach was not exactly a soothing experience for her. So instead, what I do now is to allow my folks to pick a place in nature that is calming to them. And once you're there, you allow yourself to shift out of doing mode and into being mode by shifting out of thinking mode and into sensing mode. And once you're in sensing mode, once you feel that you're calm and that you're in a state of peace, then you can start examining those echoes, those trauma memories, and unpacking them a little bit at a time. And one of the worst things that we've ever done in therapy is to drag people into facing those traumatic memories before they're ready. Before you're ready to face some of those traumatic memories, you need some emotional regulation and distress tolerance skills to be able to unpack those and handle them in a safe way. And the way I put it is that my goal as a therapist is to get you as close to the fire as possible, but I'm not going to throw you in the fire. You're your own best expert on when those echoes are ready to fade into the past. And only you can say, I'm ready to handle this trauma now, or I'm not ready to handle this trauma now. But the first step of that is by maybe trying journaling in nature somewhere. Go out with your journal. First, take in a mindful meditation, get yourself into a calm, expressive state by focusing on your senses. And then once you feel ready, start writing about those echoes in the forest, those trauma memories that you're experiencing, and see what you learn about yourself and about what you might be able to do to be able to deal with those memories. I hope this was helpful. And as always, if you really feel that you need some help, contact a therapist as soon as possible. Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me at chuck@mindfulecotherapy.com. And I'll talk to you soon.